Assalamu alaikum and hello to my non-Muslim viewers. Today we're going to be talking, today's going to be a special video because I'm going to be refuting two false stories about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in this video. Usually in my videos, I only refute one specific false story of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, but in this video I'm going to be refuting two false stories of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And those two false stories are the assassination of Asma bin Marwan and the assassination of Abu Afak under the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him's orders. The alleged, under the alleged order of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Let's go to the source of the stories of the assassinations of Abu Afak and Asma bin Marwan. What is the source of these assassination of Abu Afak and Asma bin Marwan? What is the source of the story? The source is this book, The Life of Muhammad, a translation of Sirat Rasulullah. This is basically Ibn Asak's biography of Prophet Muhammad. It's one of the earliest biographies, but it's not the earliest, but it's one of the earliest, and it certainly isn't the most reliable. In my previous video, I refuted the Kinana ibn al-Rabbi story. In this video, I'm going to be refuting the Asma bin Marwan and Abu Afak story. So the source of that story is this is the main source that the critics of Islam constantly quote. They quote from this source. Robert Spencer, in his book The Truth About Muhammad, quoted the assassination stories of Abu Afak and Asma bin Marwan, and most of Robert Spencer's footnotes. Most of Robert Spencer's sources for his biography or his book, The Truth About Muhammad, is again this book, The Life of Muhammad by Ibn Asad. So, and that's not the only source that mentions the assassination of Abu Afak and Asma bin Marwan, allegedly by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. There's another source that mentions these two assassination stories, and that source is Ibn Sa'd, Volume 2, page 31 and 32. I don't have Ibn Sa'd's physical copy with me. I've been trying to get it for a few months, but they ran out of print, so I don't know when I'll be getting the physical book. But I do have like PDF pages of it, but I can't pull it up right now. But anyways, those are the sources for the assassination of Abu Afak and Asma bin Marwan. Now, the page number for the assassination for Abu Afak and Asma bin Marwan is page 675. I'm going to pull it up right now. Yeah, it's basically this page, page 675 of Ibn Asak's book. Hopefully you can, my viewers have this book so they can follow along. If not, I'll read it for you. The stories, the first story mentioned in Ibn Asak, page 675, is the assassination story of Abu Afak. Basically, it says Salim bin Umair expedition to kill Abu Afak. So, and then Ibn Asak jumps right to the story. The story goes that Abu Afak was an old man. I'm summarizing. Abu Afak was an old man, and he made a poem against the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, instigating violence against the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, it says apostle here, but whenever Ibn Asak says the apostle, he actually means the Prophet Muhammad. Anyways, it says, the apostle said, "Who will deal with this rascal for me?" Whereupon Salim bin Umair, brother of bin Amr bin Auf, one of the weepers, went forth and killed him meaning Abu Afak. And the reason why is because Abu Afak wrote a poem making fun of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, or instigating violence against him. Now, notice how I didn't bring up an isnad before I quoted the story. A lot of basically Muslims and any non-Muslim who's educated in Islamic discipline or Islamic studies knows that a hadith or story about any Islamic figure, whether it's the Prophet Muhammad or the companions of the Prophet Muhammad, or Abu Bakr or Umar bin Khattab or Uthman, any kind of Islamic figure story needs an isnad in order for that story to be authentic. Notice how I didn't even say in isnad in the story because the isnad's not there. You see. But what about Ibn Sa'd's isnad? Who's behind Ibn Sa'd's isnad? And is Ibn Sa'd's isnad or chain of transmission authentic? And no, it isn't. And I'll be looking up that source right now, and I'll be explaining why Ibn Sa'd's sources for that story is false. Ibn Sa'd quoted al-Waqidi. Now, here's the chain of transmission for Ibn Sa'd's assassination of Abu Afak. Ibn Sa'd's isnad is Ibn Sa'd got that story from al-Waqidi. Al-Waqidi got that story from Abdullah ibn al-Harith bin al-Fadl, and Fadl got his story from al-Hatim ibn al-Fudayl. So, the person in that isnad, there are two weak narrators, or there's two liars in that chain of transmission, or that isnad. And the first liar is al-Waqidi. Al-Waqidi was a known liar who lived after the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who made up a lot of stories, and a lot of these early biography sources of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, like Ibn Sa'd and al-Tabari quote a lot from al-Waqidi, but al-Waqidi is rejected in Islamic in hadith by hadith scholars. He's known to be a liar or a fabricator. So that's the first problem with that chain of transmission, is there's one known liar. The second problem is there's another weak narrator, and that's al-Fudayl. He never met any of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him's companions, so he's like a second generation Muslim who didn't know anything about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, or the companions of the Prophet Muhammad, like Abu Bakr, Umar bin Khattab, Uthman, Ali, Salman the Persian, Bilal. Basically, that narrator, Ibn al-Fudayl, never met the first generation of Muslims, so he didn't know too much about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So there are two weak narrators in that story of Abu Afak. There's no isnad for the chain of There's no chain of transmission in Ibn Ishaq's biography, and there's no and there are two liars in Ibn Sa'd's narration of that story. So what's the second story? The second story is Asma bin Marwan, and again, that's found in page 675 of Ibn Ishaq's book. I'll give a brief, so I'm not going to read the whole story, I'll just give a brief summarization of it. It says, Umar bin Adil's journey to kill Asma bin Marwan. Basically, according to the story of Ibn Ishaq, and it runs from page 675 to 676, And again, it's this page, and it's just one page long, and then it ends on page 676. And again, I'm quoting from The Life of Muhammad Ibn Asad by Ibn Asad. Basically, the story goes that Asma bint Marwan was a pregnant woman who was writing poetry or instigating violence against the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, wanted to kill her, so he got somebody else to do it. He allegedly got somebody else to do it, and the person who carried out that alleged assassination is Umar bin Abdi's. Umar bin Abdi, at night went to Asma bin Marwan's tent or her camp, and he took a knife and he stabbed and killed her while she was still pregnant. Because Asma bint Marwan was writing poetry against the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Again, she was instigating violence against the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And the reason why she was writing that poetry to begin with was because of, I think it was because of the Battle of Badr, if I'm not mistaken. One second. She was instigating violence, but it doesn't really say why she was instigating violence. I'm trying to find out why. Well, again, it doesn't say why she was doing it. She was just instigating violence against the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It doesn't say why. It might have been because of the Battle of Badr, but it doesn't. Again, I'm not seeing any. I'm not seeing that there. But anyway, she was instigating violence, and that's why the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, ordered her alleged assassination. But again, what is the isnad? Notice how when I read that story again, I didn't quote a isnad before I quoted the story. I just jumped to the story. Again, this story is false because there's no isnad to it. In Islamic sciences, we don't accept just a story that has no isnad for it. The second source of that story is again Ibn Sa'd's work. Ibn Sa'd, Volume 2, page 31 to 32, talks about the assassination of Asma bint Marwan, the alleged assassination of Asma bint Marwan. And again, that's found in Ibn Sa'd, Volume 2, page 31 and 32. But the problem is that isnad, or that chain of transmission for the assassination of Asma bint Marwan, is weak. Muslim scholars don't accept it. And I'll be quoting that isnad right now. The isnad is basically the same as the Abu Afak story. It's basically Ibn Sa'd heard the story from Al-Waqidi. Al-Waqidi heard the story from Abdullah ibn Al-Hatif ibn Al-Fudayh, and Al-Fudayh heard it from Al-Hatim ibn Al-Fudayh. So basically it has two weak narrators in there, two known one liar and one weak narrator. The first liar is again Al-Waqidi, and Al-Waqidi was a known liar in early Islamic in early Islamic history by Hadith scholars. And the second is Al-Fudayl, which I already talked about his unreliability. He never met any of the companions of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So he wasn't a expert, or he didn't know anything about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Now, where did these stories come from? I don't know. I mean, maybe someone fabricated these stories just to make the Prophet Muhammad look bad, because people lied about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, during his time. Of course, people are going to make up stories after the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, died. I mean, back then, a lot of people had motives to make up stories about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, whether they're good stories about the Prophet Muhammad or bad stories. They did this for political reasons, for personal reasons, or they were hypocrites spreading lies about Islam, or they were enemies of Islam, so they were just making up stories. And Ibn Asad wrote anything down without any kind of verification or any kind of isnad. And same with Ibn Sa'd. Ibn Sa'd was an early source, but the problem was he didn't utilize isnad. He didn't have iron proof. He didn't have solid chains of transmissions for his stories. He was narrating from weak narrators during his time. Ibn Sa'd lived like at least 100 years, or I think 50 or 100 years after Ibn Asak. Basically, the early sources goes Ibn Asak came first, then Al-Waqidi, then Ibn Sa'd. So Ibn Sa'd got a lot of his material from Al-Waqidi, who again, like I said, was a known liar in early Islamic history. So Ibn Sa'd also collected stories about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, without verifying whether those stories are authentic or not. Or he was quote from weak narrators who didn't know anything about the first generation of Muslims, and those weak narrators or those second generation weak narrators got their stories from the enemies of Islam, who are making up stories about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to show their hatred for Islam. So they would make up stories like the assassination of Abu Afak and the assassination of Asma bin Marwan. Why they did it, I don't know. Maybe it was political reasons, or maybe they had political reasons for hating Islam, or maybe they just didn't want other people to convert to Islam during those early times. Again, I'm not 100% sure why they would make up these stories to begin with. But the fact of the matter is, these stories are not authentic. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, never ordered the assassination of Abu Afak, who was a 120-year-old man, or the assassination of Asma bin Marwan. So these stories are false, they're fictional. We Muslims don't accept it. So if any critic of Islam, like Robert Spencer, etc., quotes, the assassination of Abu Afak and Asma bin Marwan, saying Islam is violent, etc., these stories are fabricated. They're not authentic according to Islamic standards. So that's my response to the whole assassination of Abu Afak and Asma bin Marwan. Again, the main source of that story is this source, The Life of Muhammad by Ibn Asak. Inshallah, I'm going to do a video about why this biography is not reliable. As for Ibn Sa'd, I'm still waiting to get that physical book in my hand, and I'll explain why Ibn Sa'd, like Ibn Asak, is not reliable. So inshallah, God willing, I'll do that in the near future. So in conclusion, Abu Afak and Asma bin Marwan's assassination never happened by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The assassination of Abu Afak and Asma bin Marwan under the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is false. It's fictional. It never happened. So critics of Islam should stop using that argument, or should stop using the story. Again, that's it. Thanks for viewing.